Alright, g'day guys, and welcome back to the channel. This is round 2 of the AFL, my tips and also Flash Crow's tips. So I just did a recap video last night on round 1. If you want to go over there and have a look at that one, please like and subscribe to both my channel and also to Flash Crow. As you probably worked out, Flash Crow is an Adelaide supporter. I'm a Lions supporter. We both had pretty poor weeks last week. Flash Crow got, what did he get? 5, 6. He got 6 in the first round, which was quite good. I got 4, and I was quite happy with that. And I had to wait to get St Kilda in the last game to look somewhat reasonable. But anyway, let's go to this Thursday. So we've got a good match between Carlton and Geelong at the MCG. That's an interesting time. That's Thursday afternoon, 4:20. Oh, that's my time, so that's 6:30 in Australia. So I'm going to go Geelong. Carlton, I like Carlton, but they just missed too many opportunities on the weekend. Also didn't score very much. I think it was 58 all in the draw. So they look a little bit vulnerable. So I think the Cats will bounce back quite easily here. So I'm going to go 27. Let's go 27. So Geelong Cats to beat Carlton. Right, Friday, my team is up against the team that I think are the team to beat. So Brisbane Lions were absolutely embarrassed last week by Port Adelaide. Don't take anything away from Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide played well, but the Lions just played horribly. No defensive effort, no tackling, no nothing. Now, this is at the Gabba. Now, are we going to write the Lions off because of one poor game? My heart says no, but looking at Melbourne, and I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks, they look like the team to beat. They look big and strong and fast, and they tackle hard and they run hard, and they've got some really big bodies in their midfield. Probably got one of the best defences, and they can actually kick goals. Cosy Pickett's out, which is a good thing for the Lions with that pretty ordinary bump. But what a shame, because that was one of the best games he's ever played. So, geez, it's just because it's at the Gabba. I'm a Lions supporter, so I'm going to pick the Lions to bounce back. We did beat Melbourne. We did beat Melbourne in the finals, but you have to play absolutely fantastic to beat Melbourne. But the last time we played Melbourne in Melbourne, they beat us by 71 points. So only because of my heart, I'm going to go the Lions, but in a very small margin. All right, if I wasn't a Lions supporter, I'd be picking the Ds. Okay, now we've got Saturday and at the MCG, and we've got Collingwood, who played absolutely fantastic, and Port Adelaide, who played absolutely fantastic. So this could be a really good game. Collingwood are absolutely flying at the moment. Like I said in my last video, I actually had them about 9th, but they're definitely a top 4 team if they can keep playing like this. They just, the bounce and the spread and the running and the take on the game, I think it's just fantastic football to watch. Port Adelaide did that exactly the same thing to us last week. Kicked over 100 points. Collingwood kicked 125 points. I always rate teams that can kick over 100. The only problem with Collingwood is that they also let Geelong kick 106 or something like that. So I would have preferred that if Collingwood kept Geelong under 100, but you're talking about Geelong. So I think that's a really good effort. All right, I'm going to go Collingwood here. I'm on the Collingwood train, only because it's at the MCG. If it was the other way around, but I know Collingwood play well at Footy Park, but if it was the other way around, the way that Port's playing, this would be a really tight game. But I'm going to go Collingwood to win against Port. And on the Saturday afternoon, we've got Adelaide versus Richmond at Adelaide Oval. Adelaide Crows would be ruling last week. They had the game totally under control. They should have cleaned it up by half time. Rankin kicked 2 goals, 5 or something. If he just kicked a bit straighter, that could have been the end of GWS. But I still rate the Crows. I think that they're building a good young team, and just lacked a little bit of polish. Now Richmond weren't fantastic either. So in the draw, I think it's a lot closer than what the tipster's choice is, 85 to 15%, because it's at Adelaide Oval. But I think Richmond just got a little bit too much skill and a little bit too much experience for Adelaide. So I'm going to go Richmond just to beat the Crows. I think the Crows are going to be a lot more competitive in this game. And Saturday evening, we've got the Bulldogs versus St Kilda. Now, St Kilda had a really good win on the weekend. I actually tipped them, only because it's Ross Lyon, and I knew that the team would fire up for his first game. But run and run and run. St Kilda, you couldn't knock their effort. They were everywhere. They were running back in defence and they were running forward quickly in attack. The only thing with St Kilda, they're missing so many players, and they don't have any tools. They don't really have too much going right for them, but they can run, and that if they can keep the pressure on teams, that's what they do. Also, all you got to do is just put it down to the ground in their forward line, and they've got so many little players that can pick up and kick a goal. But against the Bulldogs, I can just see, I know the forward tools aren't going to work, but I can see it working against St Kilda. So I'd be playing 3 of them, and I'd be putting Rory Lobb back in defence, because St Kilda doesn't have anyone over 6 foot in their forward line. So I'd put Lobb back in defence and have 3 tools up in front. So I can actually see this becoming a bit of a blowout. Bulldogs have still got a great midfield, and that they'll be a little bit embarrassed about last week as well. So I'm going the Bulldogs. And then at the same time, we go to Optus. We've got Fremantle versus North Melbourne. So there was no way in the world that you would be tipping North Melbourne unless you watched last round. North actually played quite well. LCU had one of his best games. The young kid Sheasel looks good. They look structured. So, you can see here that Fremantle at home, this should be an easy win for Fremantle, but they looked flat last week, and they've got a really massive problem at Fremantle. They just can't score a goal. So defensively, fine. They've probably got the best back 6 in the league. They've got a really smart midfield, but they just can't get anyone to kick a goal. They've got Fife up there, and he looks like he's 80 years old, and even when he does take a mark, he kicks it out on the full. Or he's not a very good kick. And the reluctance when the game was on the line on the weekend not to put Fife into the midfield. I know they're trying to get that kid, their youngsters, get continuity and all that sort of stuff. But when the game's on the line, you've got to put a two Brownlow medalist into the midfield. I don't care if he can't run. Just put him on the ball and tell them to tap it to him and let him get it out to one, Akers or someone who can run. So I'm going to go an upset here. I don't rate Fremantle at all. I've got them dropping out of the 8. I know this is a roughie, but I'm just going to go North Melbourne. I think they might be up and about, and they're youthful, and they've got more scoring talent than Fremantle. So they got Larky kicked 6 on the weekend, and LCU is the best player in the league at the moment, and I think he's been the best player. We might be the number 2 ranked player for the last 12 weeks, 12 rounds. So from, just not after halfway of last year to now, he's the second best player in the AFL, and he really looks the good. So I'm going to go an upset, and I'm going to go North. All right, then we go to Sydney Cricket Ground. All right, so what can we say about here? Swans are a top 4 team. They look the goods again. They just run hard. They've got so much talent. They're just brilliant on the ground. They work hard for each other. They don't have Buddy, of course. He got wiped out for a week. Should have got more. Ran past the ball and cleaned up someone in the head. Gets away with murder, that guy. If that was Toby Green, he would have got 7 weeks. All right, Hawthorn were really quite bad on the weekend. They didn't look like the team the team that was playing during the practice matches. So there's no way in the world Hawthorn can win this one. I can see the Swans actually kicking quite a big score here. So I 60, 70 points maybe. So a really big percentage game here for the Swannies. And our second last match, we've got Essendon against the Gold Coast. Now, we would say normally, if you asked me last week, I would have said these are like-for-like teams. It's at Marvel Stadium. Essendon are up and about. I only watched half of the game, but they did play well, but they were playing against pretty ordinary opposition. I didn't watch the Suns game, but I saw the score, so they obviously didn't turn out to play. So tough week for the Suns to go down to Essendon when you would normally pencil in the Suns, but because Essendon are up and about at the moment, it's going to be a tougher game. But I'm actually going to pick the Suns. I think they've got enough talent to beat Essendon. I don't rate Essendon at all. I think they're a bottom 4 team. I know they got a bit of a lift up last week, but I'm going to go the Suns here. Right, so we're heading over to Optus Stadium on Sunday afternoon, and we've got the West Coast Eagles against the GWS Giants. 2 total storylines from last week. An absolute lackluster effort by the West Coast Eagles, and GWS a really gutsy win against Adelaide. I predicted that looking at the West Coast Eagles on the weekend that they're not going to win a game. But I'm actually going to pick them again. I'm going to give them one more go. But if they lose this game, I'm not picking West Coast for the rest of the year. Now, there's a bit of method in my madness. GWS, I reckon 15 of their players were cramping seriously bad in the last quarter on the weekend. Now, this is one of the hardest travelling venues. So apart from Lions to go to West Coast, which is the longest trip in football, well, Sydney to West Coast is also a long way. Now, I just think that the cramping and then a 5-hour flight might just take away the legs of the Giants. So this is not a form-based decision. This is a medical, my opinion on what might happen to GWS. You know, you get dehydrated a lot when you fly, and I just think that maybe because we saw them cramp up a lot, it's going to be another hot day in the West. So I just think, and like West Coast Eagles didn't even run last week, so they should be fresh as daisies. And I just think that really gutsy win might take the toll on the GWS. West Coast Eagles have got to respond at home, so I'm going to pick West Coast in a close one against the GWS. All right, so there we are. Where are we? Might just have a look at the ladder also. Essendon on top of the ladder, can you believe that? All right, so Sydney Swans, Melbourne, Port, Collingwood. All right, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 in the top 8 that will stay in there. Okay, it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the Lions this week, what happens to Geelong. Bulldogs have got to win. Carlton have got to win. But yeah, you can't see Essendon, St Kilda, GWS and North Melbourne staying in the 8 for the next couple of weeks. All right, okay, so there we go. Please like and subscribe. Hope your team won on the weekend. Hope your team wins this weekend. I'll put up Flash Crow's tips as we go along through this video. Have a good time, and we'll see you in the next one. Catch you later.